holidays are meant to be joyful, but for many, they can bring so much financial stress, overspending, and even guilt. And today, my goal, my friend, is to just give you some insight on how to manage holiday stress, avoid overspending, and really stay aligned with your values and your financial goals so you can enjoy the holidays and they can really be what they're meant to be, a joyful time for you to relax, enjoy company, and not live the aftermath of overspending or having to deal with the consequences of the decisions you make during the holidays. Hi, I'm Annette Bau, host of the Wealth Inside and Out podcast and founder of the Millionaire Insider. My mission is to help you simplify the money game so you can create a financially secure and fulfilled life without having to have a PhD or spend countless hours on your finances. You're going to learn how to think like a millionaire, stop worrying about money and wondering if your financial house is truly in order, and instead spend your time doing what you love. With over 3 decades advising 7, 8, and even 9-figure millionaires, and now joining that elite group, I'm in a unique position to help you make the best financial choices so you can create a secure financial future and retirement you love. This is the Wealth Inside and Out podcast. If you enjoy our free podcast, please follow Apple Podcast and give us a 5-star rating and share a review. We really appreciate it. It helps us get found, and it's our give back. And all we ask in turn is that you share it and like it. For today's show notes, you can go to themillionaireinsider.com/136. Millionaireseries.com copyrights all materials and intellectual property. This information is for educational purposes only. It is not intended to replace any advisor or specialist or to provide any investment, financial, tax, retirement planning, or healthcare advice. By accessing this content, you agree to hold millionaireseries.com and its affiliates harmless for results achieved or not achieved. So let's look at the real cost of holiday stress. A lot of people share that holidays, it's always that anticipation people are excited about, whereas when the actual event gets there, it's not typically as great as the build-up to get there. Oftentimes, it can bring on emotional overwhelm, financial pressure, and even expectations that oftentimes can't be met. There's a lot of emotional and psychological impacts, and it can impact a lot of people, especially people that are getting ready to retire, because now they're worried about having enough money. They might be overspending. I mean, I know that our Christmas Eve dinner is so expensive. Crab has gotten so outrageous. It's very expensive. And last year, I'm like, okay, I put a limit on I don't know, maybe like $500 or $600, maybe even $700 and said, that's it. Because it's like tripled in price. Now, one of the other issues that can add stress is feeling like you have to buy gifts for everyone, hosting events, or even traveling to another city. There are a lot of people who share that they have to buy gifts for everyone, even the adult children's in-laws. And that's where I want you to start thinking about how you can kind of create a plan or boundaries around that plan. One of the things that we do in our family is we play games. We don't buy gifts for other people. Now, I'm kind of guilty because I still sometimes do, but we're not supposed to. And when we were buying gifts, they were supposed to be limited to $15. And one year I was really good. And then my niece gets all these gifts. I'm like, these are more than 15. And so it's just interesting. But I do know that since we've stopped buying gifts for everyone, and when just everyone buys a gift that's worth $15 to $20, and then we play games to get them, it can be fun, it can be engaging, and it doesn't put so much pressure, especially on people who don't have as much money. Let's talk for 1 minute about why we overspend oftentimes during the holidays, which triggers some of the stress. One is an emotional trigger. You feel guilty, or you want to compare, or you want to feel like you want to be remembered, or that you're like the nice aunt or the nice mom or whatever it may be. And oftentimes people feel that buying gifts is showing they love others, when in reality, that's not necessarily true. Money mindset is another reason, tying our self-worth to how much we spend. There's a lot of hidden costs that are also tied as far as when we overspend and that we're not even aware of. Like, think about credit card debt, spending money on holiday gifts that you can't now spend for your retirement, and even having future regret, meaning regretting what choices you made. And that's a lot of times people don't realize what's happening. I encourage you to just look at why you're spending. If it's coming from a place of insecurity, a lot of times that can create a short-term higher emotion like joy, but then longer-term financial stress. So I would set a budget, how much you can spend, and then you don't go above it. And even if you have grandkids or you have nieces and nephews, do something where you're playing a game. Get them involved so then they get to have one gift at the end. Because I used to be like with my kids, this is ridiculous. They're getting so many things. And I remember one year, I'm like, this is enough. It has just gotten out of control. And it wasn't as much really the money as it just was the fact that they just take it for granted. So I think that there's a lot of consequences, not just monetary, but also what they're valuing, what you're teaching them, all those things. All right, let's talk about a couple strategies to reduce holiday stress. The first one is just to get really clear. How do you want to feel during the holidays? And more importantly, how do you want to feel after the holidays when you're getting that credit card bill or when you're now no longer around family and friends? You want to ask yourself what matters most. Is it the connection or is it the consumption or is it the best gift? What is it? Some helpful tips include creating like a holiday vision, just kind of like you do with your retirement or hopefully you're doing, what does it look like? And then really look at what triggers you. Is it family pressure? Is it guilt? Is it perfection? You want to practice ideally tactics such as mindfulness, where you're either meditating, you're walking, you're journaling, you're pausing before you push that Amazon button or you go buy something. And then you want to set boundaries, financial, emotional, and time related. That is critical. The next thing is look at ways in which you can be really smart with your spending. Just like you probably ideally have a retirement plan, meaning where you're putting X amount away for your retirement, it's part of your budget. I encourage you to do the same thing for holiday spending and then stick with it. You've got to make sure that that is forefront and that ideally you get buy-in from everyone. One of the things I'm doing this year with probably both of my nieces, I was going to just do it with one, but maybe I'll do it with the other one too, is I'm going to fund their Roth. So I'm not going to fully fund it, but I'm going to give them money into their Roth because I just think that's a great way to help them save and to also do something that really will have an impact on their lives long term versus just giving them a gift they don't need. Ideally, I hope you're limiting the gift giving to immediate family members. I'm telling you, our strategy works well. Now, granted, one of my nieces is a party planner, so she's so good. She always has all these different games that we play, and then you get to choose a gift, and then it goes all the way around, and it's very competitive, and it's very fun. Now, my competitive nature drives me crazy, but it's really quite a fun game. Ideally, you want to set a price cap per person, so you're not going above that. And then when you do buy things, I encourage you to use either cash or debit, not credit. Now, if you are set up to where you're paying all of your need-based expenses from your checking account and your want expenses from cash, this expenditure would come from the cash account. Another consideration is to pool resources for shared expenses. Like say, for instance, if you rent a cabin, maybe everyone pitches in, or hosting a potluck where people bring things. Consider low-cost, high-impact gifts, maybe personal letters, homemade treats, or even acts of service. One of the things I do that really can save money is throughout the year, I'll buy gifts. Now I have enough room to store them, but if I see something that really reminds me of somebody, I'll buy it. And a lot of times, if you're doing it off season, you can save a lot of money that way too. One of the things I just encourage you to do as you go through this is just think of that long-term plan. And, when you think of the game-changing shift that getting really aligned with where you are, what you value, what's important, and then ideally bringing others on board, that's where you're going to really see a potential change in everyone and even how everyone is viewing the holidays and how they're spending money. Now, let's talk about how you're going to communicate these new boundaries with loved ones. One of the things I encourage you to do, a lot of times people have a hard time saying no. So you might not even say no. You might just say, I just want to let you know that this year we're simplifying what we're doing, and we really want to focus on being present and not just focused on gifts. You might even say we're really trying to teach our kids to have much more focus on the connection with everyone as compared to just what they're getting. And then start with the person that you think is the easiest and then work up. Or you can even say, we've set a new holiday budget. And so, it's really going to be important we stick with it because we've really started funding our retirement and we want to make sure that we're going to have enough money in retirement so you don't have to support us. Now, some people will laugh. I don't think it's funny, but they'll get the message. And then I encourage you to have those conversations early in the season. It also can be really helpful, especially if you have a blended family or adult children, to really just have a conversation and say, what we want to do this year, maybe fund something for their retirement or do something different, but just get really clear on what you want and then communicating it in a loving and caring way with others and getting their buy-in. It's going to be a negotiation possibly, so you can go back and forth. I was not supportive of the one gift per person and the $15 limit. I was like, that's ridiculous. Everyone else was, and I have to be sensitive to that. And now that we do it, I love it. What to do if you've already been overspending or you've already overspent and now you're like, oh my gosh, I've already got this credit card bill. The first thing you need to do is just acknowledge it and not start beating yourself up. Shame is not going to help you feel better. You ideally want to set a post-holiday money reset plan. You can look at your spending, figure out what you can cut back to get it paid off, and then ideally avoid taking it from emergency reserve or from retirement. And more importantly, really create a plan moving forward so that this doesn't happen again. If you need to, forgive yourself and then commit to a new year, a new plan that you're going to use moving forward. And then let it go. Just be aware of it. And hopefully you're hearing this episode early enough so that it can really have an impact this year. But if not, then start focusing in on it for the new year. All right, let's talk about just some other ways you can create a holiday you love without going broke. Revisit some of your values, family values, spiritual values, or connection. Focus on creating rituals, not buying stuff. It might be storytelling. It might be movie marathons, or maybe even some cooking traditions. But do something that is more about connection versus just about spending money. Now, obviously, cooking can be very expensive, so you just got to be aware of it. And ideally, if it's a potluck, you'll spend less. Financially free life you love includes freedom from holiday guilt and stress, and not feeling guilty because you're saying no to buying items that you really shouldn't buy, you can't afford, or that are causing you some financial stress. And then I really encourage you to take action now so that you can avoid repeating this cycle next year. And you can start with birthdays. You can start, say, for instance, this year you say, let's put a limit on the amount of money we spend per person with the goal of getting it down to less. Or you can even say, if people really want to buy gifts for everyone, maybe they celebrate Christmas morning together and you guys are together Christmas Eve. You can do different things so that you don't have to feel uncomfortable and it's not feeling like all the pressure's on you. All right, so let's recap on holiday stress and overspending so that you can have a joyful and financially smart season this year. The first thing is getting really clear on what your holiday vision is, what your spending plan is, and then setting those healthy boundaries. One of the things that's so important is when you know where you are, you know where you're going, you know what you want to accomplish, it becomes a lot easier. Now, if you need a resource to really help you on better managing your money and really getting clear on need-based expenses versus want-based expenses, you can go to themillionaireinsider.com/MBT for our magical budget template. But this basically breaks down need-based expenses and want-based expenses, so you get really clear on it. One of the things I find fascinating, and I've done this for so long, that is really interesting, but I see it a lot, is people will say something like, that's only $100 or that's only $500. That's not going to make a difference in our life. Well, it's not the $500, but it's the extra $100 you're spending here. It's the extra $500 you're spending there. It's the extra $200 you're spending here. It's the extra $300 there. It's adding all of those up. And when you start getting above $100, that adds up pretty quickly. And that is money that could be much better spent oftentimes on things that are going to really secure your future so that you can be self-sufficient and you're not having to rely on people. I encourage you to access our financial checkup. You can go to themillionaireinsider.com/FC. Our financial checkup is basically just a vehicle that helps you assess where you are and, more importantly, what you need to do. And that's going to help you just to get clear on the progress you've made, as well as what you need to do next to make sure you can secure your financial future and you don't have to be worrying about money. My final message to you, my friend, is I want you to enjoy the holidays and also to honor your financial goals. Let's make this season joyful, grounded, and aligned with your future and your goals and your dreams so that you don't have to sacrifice your future for the money you spend on holidays and or the stress you have. Lastly, I'll also say, if you have family members that just cause you a lot of stress, maybe you don't include them in your celebration. For many of us who are raised with, we always have to be around family, we've had a couple family members that have kind of fallen to the wayside. And it was initially devastating to me. But what I realized later on is the fact that it actually kind of has brought a little more calm to our holidays. And so again, you got to just look at what works for you and what fills you up and what is going to help you not only be the best person you can be today, but also as you move forward. So I hope you enjoyed today's episode. I'm Annette Ba'u. All international copyrights are reserved. Before you go, I encourage you to just commit to doing one or two things that are going to have a dramatic impact on not only the emotion you experience during the holidays, but ways in which you can reduce your stress, reduce overspending, and just really enjoy the entire season. Bye for now.